Hello everyone, it's Decklist. Today we are playing my new Domain Zoo build, and I got the trophy with it, had a great score. Today went 9-1 total, getting a trophy in the meantime, and I worked a lot on Zoo in the last month. I went through a bunch of lists you can find in last month on my channel, Energy Zoo lists, with which I also got the trophy. I think that list is great as well, probably underplayed. I did a Zenith Zoo because like it's really nice to fetch territorial cover with Zenith and have that kind of toolbox in a Zoo deck. I think that build also has potential, but didn't see much play so far. But so after that I focused on getting the best possible regular Zoo build at the moment. As you can see here, this build is pretty close to that. So what I did here, after a bunch of gameplay and testing, I replaced 2 lightning bolts with 2 prismatic endings and played prismatic endings for a lot of time in the build. And what I missed a lot in a lot of situations, after observations, watching some replays of some matches, I figured that it was a big problem for me. Sorcery speed, prismatic ending, like killing Oculus on your turn and using 3 mana instead of 2, and not killing it instant speed on opponent's turn, not using mana in the best possible way, or not having instant speed removal against hammer time opponent or scales or whatever. It was a big problem also against Yawgmoth. I wasn't able to really kill Yawgmoth well with prismatic ending. But Get Lost also has a lot more targets that really prismatic ending can't kill, and the main one, I think the most important one, is Get Lost kills both Blood Moon and Harbinger of the Seas. That was a huge deal for me because Dimir Frog and Boros Energy are very popular in the format. A lot of the lists play 2 Harbinger main and they play 1 or 2 Blood Moons in the main, so I needed a card that gets rid of both of these cards with a single white mana, single white basic, and also a card that is useful, versatile against other decks. And Get Lost is certainly that. It can kill so much stuff. It can kill Planeswalkers, it can kill Urza Saga, it can kill Bombardment, Static Prisons, Leyline Bindings, whatever. It's great in the mirror as well. When you're playing Esper Sentinels, you are pressuring your opponent's mana a bit, so giving them map tokens becomes often less relevant in a lot of matchups. Okay, so Orcish Bowmaster got worse through time after the banning of the One Ring, and I believe the creatures with 1 toughness are better at the moment in the meta game that they were before, because Orcish Bowmaster is kind of at a record low at the moment. Even Dimir Frog doesn't play it anymore in the main. They have it in the sideboard, and you definitely will trim some Ragavans anyway. So main reason to include actually include Esper Sentinel, or consider including it, is just how well it plays out when you're playing against Dimir Frog and you're on the play and you play turn 1 Esper Sentinel. Their options are so limited, and even if they have a Bowmasters, they are in a problem. So they have to use a push on Sentinel, and that means your Kavu on turn 2 will survive, or Ragavan, or whatever, and then they also have to give you card, and that is a huge starting with a huge disadvantage, and it plays so well against them. And if they don't have the push, it really escalates and becomes really terrible for opponent. So another inclusion that I believe was the most important, that I figured through all the gameplay and the testing, that the deck now definitely needs to play Spell Snare. So recently I played a bunch of decks, and there wasn't a single blue deck I played that didn't have 2 Spell Snares. so there was no reason to not include it when building a new Domain Zoo build, and Spell Snares were immediately one of the best card in the build, and it's a huge blowout when I'm playing against Spell Snare. So opponent is playing second, they play fetch land, pass the turn. I try to play Territorial Cow, they Spell Snare it, and then they play the Frog, and they are in such a huge advantage at that moment, that it's Spell Snare is just becoming better and better over time. I think deck needs to play two of them in the main. And I really like the split between Stubborn Denial and Spell Snare as a 2-2. So also on the sideboard we got more denials and consigns, which means right now we have 8 of these 1 mana counter spells, and being a deck that can really support well 8 of these counter spells, I think that is a very good place to be at the moment, because 1 mana counter spells at the moment are really good. Okay, so as per Sentinels, plus Personnel plus Stubborn Denial helps being very mana efficient with the deck, helps you double spell on your turn 3, which is very important. Get Lost does everything Prismatic Ending does, but in addition to that also is an additional card that deals with both Harbinger of the Seas and Blood Moon, both problematic cards for Zoo. Now you have 6 answers to Harbinger and Blood Moon in the main, which is great. You don't even need a sideboarding plan against that. Just having 2 Get Lost and 4 Leyland Bindings, and if you fetch for basic planes, in most situations you will find answer to the land hate. Okay, so really loved that, and Spell Snares, as I already said, were amazing against Boros Energy, against Storm, against Breach, against Gorios, against Frog, against all matchups. They're just so relevant. Okay, so going down to Lightning Bolt, to 2 Lightning Bolt to fit in 2 Get Losts. I think Get Lost are not super necessary in the main, depends on your meta, but I believe they definitely deserve slot in 75. So if you're not playing it in main, if you don't want to play it in main, if you want to play more bolts or Fatal Push or keep Prismatic Ending as I had it before, I think that there should definitely be a space for Get Lost in the sideboard in the 75. Okay, so that's it. 3 Sentinels replacing Wild Nacatls. My primary reason to do that, as I already said, they're great play when you're playing against Dimir Frog, but they are also super good against Grinding Breach, Temur Breach, or whatever version of Breach, and they are great against Eldrazi's. So Eldrazi's play so much non-creature spells. If you're starting with Esper Sentinel, they will go like turn 1 Utopia Sprawl or Ancient Stirrings and give you draw a card, then they will go turn 2 Talisman and you'll draw a card again. It just gets nasty, it gets really nasty. Over time it provides a huge advantage. It's just such a good card in certain matchups. Of course it will get boarded out, as you will see against Boros Energy, against aggro decks like Yawgmoth, decks that play 4 Bowmasters, or you will either choose to board out either Ragavan or Sentinel, whatever is worse in that matchup, and it gets boarded out against aggro decks. Also in this league I boarded out against a black-white Blink. It's not terrible there, but I think we have better cards in the sideboard. So, but in the rest 3 matchups and in other league I played, Esper Sentinel was huge against the Dimir Frog, Grinding Breach, Eldrazi's, and the Belcher deck. Really struggled against it when I was playing first. I drew so much cards. Yeah, it really did amazing job with Sentinel, and Sentinel then allowed me to find my removal, find my Stubborn Denial and the Graveyard Hate to win in those matches. Okay, also not to mention the full spell based decks like Storm, that will always you will always get at least 1 or 2 draws from Sentinel, trying to dig for the interaction pieces. It's very good. Okay, so that is it. Keeping 3 Flages in, going down to 2 Bowmasters, since they are not as good as they were before the ring was banned. So keeping 4 Tribal Flames, they are still good, especially when opponent is using mana to attacks for Esper Sentinel. Esper Sentinel mana attacks also plays well with Stubborn Denial, and I think I really like this list. Only thing I don't think that's kind of flex in this list in the main is Get Lost. So Get Lost can be bolts, can be prismatic ending, can be more creatures or whatever, but then they deserve place in the sideboard, at least like one Get Lost. I think I would definitely play at least one, and but I really like both of them, and I was never sad to draw it. Always good draw, always help you get rid of stuff you can't get rid of otherwise. So that's it. So let's go check out the gameplay. First, let's check the sideboard. So in these 4 1-mana counter spells there, we got also Obsidian Charma, which is huge against Amulet Titan. It's great against Eldrazi's, which are very popular. Brotherhood's End plus Pyroclasm. Brotherhood's End is kind of we have 2 Werthers here and 2 Pyroclasm, and Brotherhood's End is like a card that will go in matchups where you need Werther as a third artifact hate piece, and it will go in the matchups where you need Pyroclasm as a third Pyroclasm. It's just a good card that is not so straightforward as these two, a bit more versatile but useful in both situations when you need either Pyroclasms or Werthers. Plays out well, great in deck. I'm a huge fan of Brotherhood Zen at the moment. Okay, I like it more than similar cards like Pest Control, like Hiratsugu, or whatever other options are out there. Soul Guide Lantern plays so good against Flage decks. So you play the Soul Guide Lantern, exile Flage from the yard when you're playing Flage Mirrors, then that is huge. That's so huge. Like exile Flage and then sacrifice it to draw a card. It's such a good play, and it's really relevant. Okay, I really like it. It's my main graveyard side piece when I can play Rest in Peace or whatever else. Okay, so that is it. Let's go check out the gameplay. Sorry, one more thing before we go there. I started working again on my Decktionary post banning, unbanning. So I have 2 freshly updated sideboard guides. Dimir Frog sideboard guide updated last week. New list, a new sideboard guide updated recently for the new meta, new decks. Mardu Energy sideboard guide, which was both of these guides were previously on my Decktionary as well. Dimir Frog now went from a top tier subscription to medium tier. So both of these freshly updated guides are available in the 10 euro a month subscription plan, and I'm very close to finishing sideboard guide to my Esper Blink list. So it's similar to the recently popular Orzo Blink list, playing Recruiter of the Guard and Overlord. And this version is playing Satoru and got a bunch of trophy in the leagues recently. It's getting popular as an alternative version to play Black-White Blink. I believe my Esper Blink is my favorite version. I prefer playing it to Black-White version. I think Satoru can get really crazy in this deck, and and the meta is becoming more and more grindy, more and more mid-range decks, and Satoru can really grind well and get that extra card or 2 you need to win and get on top of your opponent. Okay, so these 2 freshly updated guides are all updated in the last few days, with a new guide for Esper Blink coming by the end of this week. And here you also have all my old guides, which I will also, Domain Zoo Sideboard Guide will be my next one. I'm not sure if it'll be guide for this version I'm playing right now. It could very well be. Also, here are all my old articles. Large tips and tricks article on Energy and Zoo is still very relevant. I will also look to upgrade that one with the new matchups and new tips when for the new decks that weren't described before but are popular now after the bannings and unbannings. So that is it. That's all for now. Doing a lot of job on Decktionary, so there will be a lot of guides and new articles in a short time over there. So if you're interested, you can subscribe there. You can find the link down below in the video description for my Decktionary, and join as a subscriber. Okay, so that is it. Let's now check out the gameplay. Okay, so first match, I played against all relevant decks, and all matchups were usually hard matchups for Zoo. Okay, so first matchup was Kahira Control. So this is not super common matchup at the moment, but is traditionally a hard matchup for Domain Zoo. So they play a lot of removal. They have Solitude, they have counter spells, they have spell snares, they have prismatic endings, they have Narset, Teferis, Supreme Verdicts, and bunch of draw. It's traditionally, as I said, hard matchup for Zoo. But thanks to new additions, like especially Spell Snare. Spell Snare is super relevant in this matchup when you're playing against Counterspell. And okay, so I was fine with them using Subtlety here. I'm just putting Cyno Drake on top. You kind of have to be careful anyway in this matchup, not to put too many things in the board, because they can then wipe the board with Supreme Verdict or something like that. Here you can see opponent using Solitude to kill one of my Scions. That's okay, I have another one in hand. And here I go for the Steam Vents. I'm definitely expecting a counterspell here. So here it is, a spell snaring counterspell. That was a key of me winning this matchup. And now I go Lush Portico, keep second Scion on top, and also now I have Leyline of the Guild Pact in hand. Leyline of the Guild Pact is a great card in this matchup, and a card that made this matchup a lot easier for me. Okay, so instead of Leyline, here I decided to go second Scion plus Tribal Flames them phase, because I felt they don't have Supreme Verdict in this situation, and I was close to lethal, 2 Scions on the field and 1 top deck away from burning them out. An opponent didn't find a solution, so that was a game. Okay, so let's check out the sideboarding plan against Kahira Control. Okay, so as you can see, it changed absolutely nothing. So I really like it. It's kind of like the changes I did to the main board made this deck really good against this deck. So Esper Sentinels great against them. Unfortunately, I didn't draw them here in this situation, but Spell Snare is other card that is also great against them, and I draw 2. So I didn't want to play Cyno Draco in this situation. I would usually be forced to play it here into Counterspell. I wouldn't have any other options. Okay, now there is a risk I'm definitely resolving Cyno Draco next turn unless they have Subtlety, but then they also have to pitch cast Subtlety, so I'm okay with that. And here I go, Counterspell, as expected. I play my first Spell Snare and help me resolve my Cyno Draco. So this was a reason why I didn't try to play Cyno Draco on turn 2. I really wanted to protect it with Spell Snare. I think that's really important. And now, as expected, opponent is bouncing one of my Scions. I think that's fine. I play Cyno Draco plus Ragavan. This is a huge threat. Opponent has to get rid of it. I'm careful so opponent doesn't play Solitude instant speed, and you can see they had it. So before combat I go for the Leyline Binding, and they kill Scion, but I still connect with Ragavan. And I exile their Prismatic Ending, so in this situation I decide to use their Prismatic Ending to exile Teferi. I don't want to overcommit anyway to the board, and here you can see opponent using Cosmic Rebirth to buy back their Solitude. Solitude goes in hand, and now they're forced to like play it before combat on Ragavan. That's a good, decent situation for me. Now I can play my Sino Jaco, untap, I got rid of their Teferi, and I don't care that much about Solitude at the moment. I can pass the turn holding interaction. I have Bowmasters. I think this is ideal situation for me to try to kill their Solitude with Bowmaster token and ping. So I ping Solitude for 1 and block it with Orc Army token. So in this situation, opponent also has to deal with Orcish Bowmaster, and they also killed their Solitude kind of for free. Okay, so opponent is on 12, and I use my first Tribal Flames. I have 3 flames in this situation. Seems like really good. Opponent gains 3. And I go for Bolt end of turn. I have Flage in the yard, so opponent really has a lot to worry about here. And I play my Territorial Cavu on this turn, and I'm hoping to draw a second land so I can finish them off, and everything goes for plan. Everything goes with plan for me, and I'm able to draw my land and go for flames. And if I didn't have double flames here, I would be able to play Flage, kill one of their Solitudes, and still have Flage on the field with them just 2 cards in hand. That would be really amazing situation as well, but I was able to like finish things here immediately, so that was game over. Okay, so let's check out match 2. Okay, so this entire league I only lost 1 game in this second match. All other wins were 2-0. Okay, so clean 2-0 wins. Okay, so I started this game with a bunch of removal, and here you can see me having Orcish Bowmaster. Okay, so I hurried there to fetch into Blood Crypt. I then changed my mind about playing a Bolt here, so I let them hit me with Ocelot Pride and decide to keep a Bolt for the second creature they'll play this turn, and then just use the Bowmaster to kill Ocelot Pride. Okay, so here I kill Ajani, end of turn, let them make a cat token, then I prepare to like Bowmaster their Ocelot. I have to do this before bombardment, of course. So I kill Ocelot, opponent resolves bombardment, and yeah, but they also have Gyro Souls here and bombardment on the field, which is potentially a problem. So I have a bunch of removal, which is good. I think this was potentially a mistake by me here, going Leyline Binding here, immediately hitting Gyro Souls. My opponent ended up having Traben Charm plus Ocelot Pride. I probably should have waited. I don't think that was it was too hard. Still, I was able to Leyline Binding their Ocelot, and I had Get Lost, so I had to choose either kill Gyro Souls or Goblin Bombardment. Not the greatest situation, but also I'm like one top deck away from stabilizing here. So Flage would be great for stabilizing. A Sino Jaco, since I had a Leyline of the Guild Pact on the field, would be amazing top deck. It would probably just completely stabilize me here. But opponent has another Traben Charm. Traben Charm is pretty solid in matchup, and they also find a Seasoned Pyromancer here plus Ragavan, and in this situation with Goblin Bombardment on the field, that was too much. I tried to find something relevant, yeah, but it wasn't on my top, so that was game over. So I lost game 1, so I had to win remaining 2 to win this match. Okay, so let's check out the sideboarding plan against them. Okay, so in this matchup, Sentinels go out and Stubborn Denials go out. Also 1 or 2 Tribal Flames, depends on kind of thinking between moving second flames. I was thinking between moving second flames out and keeping like either 1 Stubborn Denial or 1 Consigned to Memory. Both cards can be good, mostly are medium against them, but can be good. Okay, so I have Arena of Glory in my hand, as you can see here. So I was waiting for their play to see what they'll do. And in this situation, my opponent is still far from resolving Flage, playing Flage from the yard. So my plan is to try to kill them before they resolve that Flage. I have Arena of Glory in my hand, which was huge in this game. Two Scions with haste coming up this turn, hitting my opponent for 9. That is amazing. So in this situation, I'm hitting them next turn again. So I'm basically only one Tribal Flames away from win here. And I also have a Cyano Jaco to I also have another Cyano Jaco to keep threatening them for win on the next turn. I exile their Ajani and play my other Scion. Opponent has to find 1 mana spell to be able to play Flage from the yard, but even that, even Flage with haste, it would be barely enough. Any top deck, any like Bowmaster or Burn spell from the top would still win me the game, even with Flage haste. But yeah, okay, so that was win in game 2, winning because double Cyano Jaco with haste was so amazing. Okay, so I keep a weird, potentially good hand here. But because I have Brotherhood's End, I have Graveyard Hate, I have Spell Snare, and I find a land on top, so with the Survey land, so I definitely keeping that because they're hitting me with Ragavan. I was a bit fortunate in this match, opponent didn't have a strong start, and I went for the Soul Guide Lantern here. My only purpose for the Soul Guide Lantern, only thing I was fearing was opponent like growing God of Souls too large before I can hit them with Brotherhood's End. I'm fine taking some damage in, I'm fine with them playing more creatures. Opponent weirdly doesn't play anything, so I find a land from the top, the third land I needed to go for the Brotherhood's End here, and I kill both God of Souls and Ragavan. And now opponent was also kind of stuck on mana, and I decide to find a plains while it's on time. So I'm okay with playing Cyano Jaco for 4 mana in this situation, if that means playing well against Blood Moon and having solutions to Blood Moon. So now opponent plays, gets rid of my Ocelot Pride, of my Scion, and plays Ocelot Pride. I have plenty of removal. And I find the best one, Flage here, to kill their Ocelot. Putting Flage in the yard feels amazing. I'm keeping a Spell Snare here in case they play a 2 mana spell, and it was super relevant. We all know that Spell Snare is a huge card against Boros Energy. It really is so good against them, and thanks to the Spell Snare I was able to resolve Flage here. Spell Snare was such a good card in this deck, and it's such a good card for the meta right now. I decided to immediately go for the Lantern here. I have Plains basics, so I'm fine with whatever they do. I have a double removal. Okay, so opponent is also stabilized by now, and they find a solution for my Flage, hitting me for 3, and also Galvanic Discharge to finish it off. But I have Soul Guide Lantern, exile their Flage, draw a card. I really love how this plays out. Okay, and here you can see opponent playing another Flage just to heal a bit. I crack my Soul Guide Lantern, return to be able to escape Flage again, fill my yard with cards, and putting Flage in the yard, attacking with Scion. I have lethal on board next turn with Tribal Flames in hand and double removal, and that is too much for opponent, so they concede. That is the match against them. So let's check out match 3. Okay, so except for Karkira Control in match 1, which isn't like super popular at the moment, all other matchups were like really relevant decks which you play mostly against right now. Here we can see opponent is playing black-white blink, also blink deck with Overlord of the Baelmerk. Okay, so opponent plays Overlord on turn 2 and I start with Scion of Jacob combo on turn 2. I have amazing turn 3. Here you can see me. I have Territorial Kavu and holding Leyline Binding. That feels amazing. Opponent finds a solution for Leyline of the Guild Pact. They also playing Solitude, so that is another way to I'm being careful here in case my opponent has Ephemerate. So I'm fetching planes before they can use Ephemerate in response to me fetching. So I'm killing end of Skyclave Apparition. I'm killing it end of turn because it's giving me this 4/4 hexproof attacker, which is actually super good for my deck. It's like playing a creature. So Skyclave Operation is a solution they have for the Leyline of the Guild Pact, but it's not a very good one because it gives me a 4/4 hexproof attacker with Scion Jacob on the field, and I was able to finish them off with on turn 4 with Tribal Flames Phase for a win. So that was the win in game 1. So let's check out game 2. Okay, so as I said before, against energy and black-white blink, Esper Sentinels go out to the sideboard, but I use them against all other decks I played in this league. They were great against Dimir Frog, great against Temur Breach, they are great against Eldrazi, great against combo decks like Storm and Belcher, against Tron and everything else. They're just doing amazing job. Okay, so you can see me here, I'm forcing my Ragavan going through. I'm forcing them dealing with Ragavan, and I find it goes well for me. I find a removal for second blocker, so I cleared the way again going for Ragavan. Ragavan doing amazing job. I played their Bowmaster. Bowmaster is another attacker in this situation, which can be pretty important. Okay, so I have some options here. You can see Flage in the yard, and if they trade with Ragavan, I'm able to play Flage immediately. But I also know they found a Solitude. Opponent finds a Solitude with the Recruiter of the Guard, so I didn't want to use Flage. I wanted them to use Solitude on my Kavu, so then I can play Flage from the yard. Okay, so I keep Bolt on top because the only thing I'm fearing right now is Solitude Ephemerate, and with Bolt they can Solitude but they can't Ephemerate it, so I think it's a really good top deck at the moment. Okay, so I go with Hasty Flage. Unfortunately, opponent has Oven Interrupter here. I want to go attack with my Bowmasters, so I bolt their Aven and go in for 7, discarding my Pyroclasm. I don't want to kill my creatures, so I decided to discard the Pyroclasm here, go in for 7, and I can just cast Flage for free next turn and kill my opponent. So that's it. That was the win. Got the easy wins in both matches against Black-White Blink. Did I show you my sideboarding plan? I think I did. Just in case, once again, you can see me, as I said, in those two matchups, Esper Sentinels go out and nothing else. So just Sentinels in this one, and replacing them with some useful cyber cards there. Okay, so that was match 3. Let's check out match 4. So played against Energy, played against Kahira Control, played against Black-White Blink, and now we are playing, I think this was Temur Breach, very popular deck right now. One of the best and the most popular decks in a format right now, and as you will see, Spell Snare is really good against them as well. Okay, so I don't have a play here. I'm just holding Stubborn Denial, Spell Snare, Bolt, Bowmaster. I have plenty of interaction here. all is good. So opponent fetches Breeding Pool and tries to go for a Rumble, but I have both Spell Snare and Stubborn Denial. I think I don't have a Ferocious, so I rather use a Stubborn Denial in this situation. Graveyard the Tribal Flames, trying to find another land, and I find Territorial Kavu from the top. That is a great find here. So next turn Kavu can graveyard my Flage, dig for more lands, and dig for more relevant cards. Opponent resolves to not so relevant spells at the moment, so I'm able to find my third land and keep a bunch of interaction. So I have Binding plus Snare plus Lightning Bolt. I would say in this situation this is basically unwinnable situation for my opponent. So I'm fetching Steam Vents first because I want to use Steam Vents mana for the Spell Snare, so I can play have black mana to play Orcish Bowmaster. Fetching is really important, so if I didn't fetch like this, I would not have a kill this turn, so it would be pretty big misplay. I would let them another turn, try to find a breach and win. And here I was able to immediately attack for 7, finish them off with Bolt, and that was game over. Okay, so let's check out game 2, and let's also check out the sideboarding plan against Temur Breach. A very popular deck, as I said right now, so it's important to board well against them. I think Bowmasters are not greatest against, they don't draw much except for Mishra Bubbles, so it can't kill their creatures, it's really not that relevant. Okay, Brotherhood's End is amazing card against them, really amazing, and you can see me here keeping Esper Sentinels while boarding out Bowmasters and one Ragavan. Sentinel is really big against them, but in this situation I decided to offer them the trade Sentinel for Construct. I liked that trade, and since they value Esper Sentinel when playing against Esper Sentinel, it's a big problem for them, so they were ready to trade Construct for it. I think that speaks a lot. And thanks to this trade, I was able to keep these constructs in check. If I didn't trade there for Sentinel, I would be in problem because my opponent had a bunch of sagas and bunch of artifacts making their constructs bigger and bigger each turn. Okay, so fortunately for me here, opponent cracks the Mishra Bubble, making their construct a 3/3, which is ideal for me to use Flage. I use Fetch instead of Plains here, so I fill my yard for Flage, so I have enough cards in the yard so I can play it next turn, and I can crack Soul Guide Lantern anytime to be able to play Flage. This means next turn I will be able to play Flage and also keep a Spell Snare. That is amazing, but unfortunately opponent finds a Soul Guide Lantern on time, and they again have enough mana to make another construct. So in this situation I have a Spell Snare for Breach, so I'm not worried about that. I want another card, so I crack my Soul Guide Lantern. I find Ragavan plus Bolt. That was a great way to get rid of this second construct, so I first strike them with Ragavan first and then bolt their construct, otherwise this construct would be too large and would potentially become a problem for me, and they would maybe be able to race me. But thanks to Ragavan and first strike and the bolt, I was able to get rid of it, and now I top deck Tribal Flames, which is forcing them to sacrifice their own Havar Might to gain life and survive on 1. And I'm putting Ragavan on the field as attacker next turn, so this means if I find a removal for their construct, even if they kill Scion of Jaco, I still have a win next turn with Ragavan attack. So opponent actually finds the removal for Scion of Jaco, and they have 1 mana open, and yeah, I have Spell Snare plus Leyline Binding to remove their blocker and finish them off with Ragavan, so that is it. As I said, 1 Ragavan and 2 Bowmasters go out, a couple of Tribal Flames, I'm boarding the Werethers, the Brotherhood's End, and the Soul Guide Lanterns. All of these cards are super good against them, and we already have Esper Sentinels and Spell Snares in the main, which are both one of the best cards to play against Breach. Counters Spell Snare, counters the Rumble, counters Breach, which are kind of the one of the most important spells in their deck, and it's not it's much spells. They have like maybe 10 2-mana spells or something like that, but those spells they play, 2-mana spells, are just really relevant, and the Spell Snare works well against them for that reason. Okay, so that is it. That was a win against Breach. So quick wins in a lot of these matches. So let's check out the last match of this league. We played against Mango. Mango, I think, was also streaming, playing Hammer Time with Leyline Axe. I saw his tweet. And I before this morning before starting play, and when I saw Leyline Axe, kind of figured they're probably playing the Leyline Axe Hammer Time. Okay, so opponent Mango starts with Leyline Axe, Mox Opal, and I had a kind of a slow start with a double Sentinel, but the Sentinel is great against Hammer. They play a bunch of non-creature spells, and it's really taxing them hard, and so I was comfortable in this situation. Even my opponent didn't have a perfect start. I was comfortable here because I had the blockers, I had Esper Sentinels taxing them, so there is a potential of me drawing some solutions in case they go Hammer Sigarda's Aid, and I have blockers in case they don't have Shadow Spear. I'm in okay situation, and Esper Sentinels plus Territorial Kavus giving me some card selection. I put them down on 5. I have Tribal Flames to finish things off. Next turn, opponent doesn't have Hammer, so they concede. That was a quick win in game 1. Let's check out game 2 and sideboarding plan against Hammer Time. Okay, so keeping this is a sideboarding plan against Hammer Time. So consigns to memory going in. Actually, accidentally didn't fetch Lush Portico end of turn, so I draw it. Kind of unlucky, but yeah, it wasn't a big blow. It was okay. Ragavans went out. Sentinels are staying in, as I think like Sentinels are really good against them. You play it on turn 1 and they have to play entire game around it. Don't have a solution for it. So here it is. I'm going with Kavu, doing the surveil, keeping I have 3 cards of interaction in my hand, all 3 good. I decide to use Consign to Memory so they can't fetch with their Urza Saga, find the Colossus Hammer. Also, I Stubborn Denial their On Thin Ice, and I go for Territorial Kavu again. I'm keeping Bolt and Spell Snare. I kept, as you can see, I kept 1 Spell Snare in the main because Spell Snare still can be relevant, counters their Pure Steel Paladins, counters their Stoneforge Mystics, and some more cards. So Spell Snare still can be very useful, but I decided only to keep 1 in the main. I didn't have a room for the second one. End of turn, I cycle Dexandra's Lounge, and I find a Sino Jacob from the top, and I give it haste with Arena of Glory, and you can see me having Wear Tear and Spell Snare, 2 very strong cards against them. I can even play both of them if they go like Sigarda's Aid or Pure Steel Paladin, Stoneforge Mystic. Basically, these two cards in my hand are solution to everything, so I didn't want to discard anything, but Mangu concedes, and that was the last match of this league. We got the trophy with the new zoo list. Overall, the deck felt amazing. I went 9-1 today in my initial testing of this list. So ideas I had about this all went well. I'm really happy with all of those. So the first idea was return to the standard Flage mana base, mountain plus plains. I really liked Frog Zoo, and Frog was great card in Zoo, but at the moment with both Dimir and Boros being popular and both playing land hate, mana hate in the main like Blood Moon and Harbinger of the Seas, the Frog mana in Zoo was too hard to support it against those two decks and play efficiently against land hate. So I went back to the Flage mana base, then I added spell snares. That was the most important thing I did here, and the spell snare were immediately one of the best cards. I really wanted to always have them. Oh, I think one of my perfect hands has a spell snare in the starting hand. Esper Sentinels replaced Wild Necattles because when I played against Dimir Frog and I played against them first, and I played Esper Sentinel on turn 1 against them. Nowadays they are not even playing the Bowmaster. It was a huge problem for them. They couldn't play around it. If they had a fatal push, they would immediately push it. I would get to draw a card, then play another Sentinel. It would just drive them crazy. It was a super strong card against them, and that's why I decided to go with Sentinel. And then I looked at the rest of the metagame and saw that Sentinel is really good against Temur Breach. They only play 8 creatures, so their entire deck is cheap spells, and they have to pay tax for Sentinel or give you cards, and it works so well. And also it's great against Eldrazi's. Also, most of their deck is non-creature spells, like their Ram spells, their Stirrings, their Rumbles, their Talismans, their Utopia Sprawls, and whatever. They have so much of these cheap non-creature spells, and it's hard for them to pay extra mana every turn, making it very hard for them to play. Also, Bowmaster is record low right now, so these 1 toughness creatures are getting better and better over time. For now, I wasn't too happy with Prismatic Ending, so I replaced it with Get Lost, as I said, primarily because in addition to doing all that Prismatic Ending does, being instant speed, so being able to end turn, kill Frog, kill Oculus, and it also kills both Harbinger and Blood Moon with just a single basic planes out on the field. It was very super relevant. Happy with the guard. Giving 2 map tokens was never too relevant for opponent. Sometimes draws them a land, but yeah, that's like totally fine. And you can also often just kill creature they try to use a map token in response, so their map token ends up being used for nothing. And that's it. So kept 2 Orcish Bowmasters, and I feel like if playing 3 or 4 is too many at the moment, I prefer 2 in most of my decks where I still keep Orcish Bowmasters in. Really happy with the sideboard. All cards are just super relevant right now, super efficient in matchups where you need it. I wouldn't change any cards in the sideboard. As I said before in the start of the video, my flex slots in this deck are to Get Lost. So I believe Get Lost has to have space in the 75, at least 1, but probably 2. Even better. And if you don't play it main, then play it in the side, at least 1 Get Lost as a 5th or a 6th solution to the land hate, and just a good overall removal against any deck you play nowadays. So that's it. That's all today. My message is, whatever you do, if you're keeping the Wild Necattles instead of Sentinels, make sure you include Spell Snares. Spell Snares have been truly amazing in 2 leagues I played so far. It's it's starting like to feel like one of the best cards in hand. It's in deck, it's super relevant every game. There's like no matchup where you can't use this. Even the big mana decks have 2 mana spells nowadays. The only matchup where spell snare is like useless is probably like Amulet Titan. But yeah, even nowadays, even they have some 2 mana spells. So all in all, that's it. Really happy with the list. Really happy how it played out, and some theoretical thinking I did in when preparing for playing this list and preparing some inclusions in the main, in the side, all worked out well how I anticipated, and all of these inclusions worked well in the list. And I think going forward, people who will see this list, who will see this video, are going to see that some cards you can see here like Spell Snare should probably be mandatory in the Zoo decks right now. I think Esper Sentinel is a pretty solid and better replacement for Valnekatl in today's meta, but that is susceptible to change over time. When meta changes, of course, things can play out differently. The meta can change in a week or two, but Esper Sentinels in this moment, I think I would rather have them than the Valnekatls. Sometimes I miss a big beater in this deck because we only have 4 Kavu, 4 Draco, and 3 Flages. So sometimes you are getting walled with your opponent's creatures if you have only small ones, but that's mostly fine. Deck can play a longer game with Flage, with powerful single spells and interaction. So that is mostly fine, and just hold back, wait for your chance, find that later on. The Guild Pact Scion combo in the mid game can still win you a lot of the long games, and let you like prevail and win the mid game and the late game. Okay, so that is it for today. Thank you for watching. Get Lost, another card I mentioned already a few times, as a flex slot, as a good sideboard option, but also as a good main board option. Okay, so again, thank you for watching. Friendly reminder to click like, click subscribe. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comments, and goodbye.